now everybody in my family is a lawyer.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm the black sheep. And I had horrible memory sleep, completely forgot everything. I had no idea what I was doing. And my teacher after that was saying like, listen, I really like the fact that the improvisation, it was so good, but listen, this is not like what we're supposed to do with this piece. 2 English words that I learned just not to say and not to pronounce ever in my life. How do you call this thing in English? Music?
Oh, shit.
You're right.
Shit.
Okay?
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
We're the Meeks duo,
I'm Scott.
and I'm Claire. And today we have a very special, awesome, professional pianist for you, who happen to be Scott's old classmates.
Right, I went to school at Indiana where I met Tal Zilber, and currently Tal is living in Israel. He's an amazing pianist, and he's an improviser, an arranger, composer, jazz pianist. He does all sorts of things, and you're going to hear a very interesting interview with him today.
Yeah, it's amazing. The first time when I heard about Tal's name was because we were planning our program for Taiwan, and then you played his Brahms in Salsa for
Yes.
me, and then you said, "How do you like this?" And I just started laughing because he puts so much humor in this piece. It's amazing. So let's welcome Dr. Tal Zilber. Hello, Tal.
Hello! Wow, after that introduction, we should stop here. Thank you very much. It was lovely.
No, this is the beginning.
From here, we can only go down.
No, you're too modest. When did you write Brahms in Salsa?
I think the first time was around 2006.
Oh,
It was just like improvised like as an anchor for piano and violin.
okay.
So it was very like I wrote a sketch and I played with a violinist. Then I don't remember how many versions. Many versions. The first version was too difficult. The second version was too boring. Then another too difficult, too boring, and like it was going in between. And then it was this version, which I hope it's the final, but I don't know if it's the final because I haven't performed it for a long time. And maybe when I perform it next time, I will do another. That's how it works. I perform it, I make all the changes, then I forget about it, then I perform it again, and I look at it and I say, who wrote this crap? And I revise it again, and that's how it basically works. So I from 2006 to somewhere, and it had at least 5 different versions.
Oh, well, I guess that's why it's so expertly crafted.
Yes, and there is the version with Eran Katzenellenbogen, which I learned to say his name. I don't know if you remember the
I think
guy.
I've seen a video.
Yes. So this one was the one we performed the most, and that was completely improvised.
Ah, okay.
So nothing was notated. Then I wrote it to Gila Goldstein,
Yes.
who is a classical pianist, and then I had to write everything down. So I think that's the last version. It was for Gila.
So you listened to your own playing, or was it all in your head when you were transcribing?
It's a mix. It's always and the thing is that I think that the challenging part of this one is to make it like, especially when things are on YouTube and you call something in salsa style, you can be sure there are going to be people that are going to write for you, this is not salsa.
Yes.
And I had to try. I don't think it was very successful at the end, and I actually changed the name many times from salsa in salsa style, in Latin style, in salsa style, in Latin style. But I tried to kind of learn the patterns of salsa, the bass pattern, but I don't know. I think that in the end, there is probably like any other style. There is no such thing as salsa style. Everybody thinks they know what salsa is.
Right.
And someone lives in Cuba or in Brazil or in Argentina or in Colombia. Everyone thinks salsa is different thing. And so I try to kind of compromise and try to do it and do it in a way that classical musicians can play it. That's another problem. That when you play to people that are, this is their main style, it doesn't sound like salsa to them, and that's a problem.
And they'd want to improvise over it anyway, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like even in Baroque period, like Bach was writing pieces with a dance title, but it was totally not danceable, right?
I know that Chopin, there was this thing that people complained that this is not mazurka. Waltzes, I didn't know that was in Bach's time also, but I guess people complain. This is one that unite the whole music histories. People complain.
Right. So. The equivalent of YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when did you start playing the piano?
I started when I was 7. I come from a non-musician family. No one in my family ever had any music experience. My mom had some. Maybe once I heard her playing the piano. She played for many years, but never heard her play the piano. We had a piano in our home, and I'm the youngest child. And both of my brothers, they took piano lessons for 1 year or 2, and they quit. And now everybody in my family is a lawyer.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm the black sheep. All my families, my brothers, everybody, my father was a lawyer and my cousins.
Wow.
I'm the only musician, and I just didn't quit. So that's how.
So when you decided to be a musician, was your family worried?
No, actually, that's the problem. No one in my family knew what musician is to warn me. That's the problem. Most families, if someone in the family is a musician, they send him to you should talk to your uncle before you make this decision, because he's going to tell you what musician life looks like. And in my family, everybody was, it's so cool, being a pianist,
Nice. So they were very supportive.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, except of my grandma. My grandma was, she was the one who asked the important questions, and
Like what?
In the beginning when I tried to do piano competitions, and so my mom said, you should go, it's a good experience, it's important. And my grandma, it's like, do you think you're gonna win this competition? I don't know, so why do you go to this competition? It's why do you travel? That kind of questions, and what are you going to do after, and you study music, and then how are you gonna make a living, and the important questions that no one asked me for.
So for your grandmother, it was important that you would win something to show that choosing music would be like a good path for you?
It's more like practical way of thinking. Is why do you spend money and practice and spend time and go to competition, and then you lose and you go home with nothing? What did you get from that?
Did she have any arts or performance training as a child?
No.
So she's just practical naturally.
Yes, more you need to start to study to get a job and make money, and not study then think what you are going to do in life with that thing.
Right.
Even when you starting get serious into music, I don't know, everybody in different age, but when I was around 18, still there is no plan like other jobs. You want to be a lawyer, you study, you have your bachelor, you take the test, you find an office, and boom, you have a job, you're all set. In music, do you have a plan? It's what? I'm gonna study, then what? So I think this is, she was more practical. What do you do with this job? How you make a living from this thing?
At what point did you decide that you wanted to be a musician?
I don't think there was a time that I say, that's what I'm gonna do. It was always I'm doing it now. I'm doing my best to do it the best I can, and we'll see later. And then before you know it, you become 39, and then now it's too late to switch. So I guess that's what I do. There was one time I actually thought seriously to quit.
Really? When was this?
It was actually after my first year at Indiana University.
Oh.
Yes, okay. I really enjoyed it and I really liked the school, But I had 3 times I did the audition tour thing, like auditions for schools. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like smooth. It was not smooth. That's the word. It's like, I was hoping to audition to get like 5 different schools, and I didn't have many choices. And then, so I decided maybe I should change. Maybe I should take it as a sign. Yeah. So I applied to computer science, and then I didn't get in because it's a long story, but before I went into music school, I had to take this exam. I don't know the English name of that exam. It's like the SAT or something like that. Yeah, but it wasn't in music. It was like in math, in English, and all this stuff. And to get into music school, you need a very low grade, like super, super low grade. You don't need to do anything. So when I applied to music school, I just took the exam. I didn't study for it at all. And the grade was very low, but it was good enough to get into music school. So I did like bachelor and masters, and when I applied to computer science, apparently I didn't know they had my grade in the system.
Oh.
And they say, with this grade, you can get into computer science. And I said, I'm not going to take this exam again now. So back to music.
So if you didn't do music, computer science would be like the thing you would consider doing?
I think so. I did some like very basic programming, and I really enjoyed it. But like any other thing, if the real hard stuff start when you really get into it, and it's not, it's like many people take piano as a hobby, and they say like, oh, it's so fun to be a pianist, we just play the piano all day, and we know that it was not like that. It's funny because my wife, she's she's still a cellist, but she hasn't played for a long time. But she was a musician before, and she's doing physics. And we used to work at home, and she was on her computer and I was on my piano. And then both of us took a break and said, wow, I have to take a break. And she goes to the cello and I go to the computer.
Oh.
I see.
So
Either way, it would turn out the same, more or less.
okay, don't panic. I'm doing this now.
I took piano tech at Indiana with Steve Shaver. And the piano tech class. And one of the first things he said was never put a drink on the piano. So I've always remembered that.
Yeah, actually, my first day for my master's in the orientation, that's what the director said to all new students: never put a drink on the piano.
Yeah, because it's okay. I won't explain. Yeah, he's right.
Depends what the drink is.
Yeah, no, he's right. He's right. I'm the only one who's allowed to put a drink on my piano.
I guess.
Do you teach on that piano?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but most of my students actually are now online.
Okay.
Which is amazing. It always, it amazes me. The time we start to take it for granted, but I'm still amazed that it's happening. That I'm having a piano lesson. I'm here, and the guy's on the other side of the planet, and it's.
How do you like online teaching?
Of course, it has many problems, and we are getting better, I think. More is like to know what not to do, and anything that involves rhythm, forget about it. That's not gonna work. Like, important part of teaching is like you play with the student, and if the student didn't get the rhythm, you clap, okay, play, and we play together, and that. No, this whole thing is like not gonna work. So you need to find ways to go around it. But it has many advantages,
Yeah.
You can record the lesson. People don't need to be stuck in traffic. Most of the time people get to your lesson on time.
Yeah.
They don't say like, oh, sorry, I was stuck. And like, you weren't stuck. You were home all the time. So.
And you don't have to worry about the students spilling your drink.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's not like, is it too cold for you? Do you want me to turn off the air and the AC? No. And you can have your room super messy. You don't see it. Now everything is clean because it's this frame, but the room is like
We know.
I don't
Yeah,
want to
we
show
know.
you. I took all the mess that was here, and just threw it there, and that's it. It's like,
You're so honest.
but I didn't show you the mess.
So, when you started piano, were you trained purely classically?
Yes. Yes.
And was the improvising something you discovered on your own outside of your regular lessons?
Yeah.
What kind of things did you try to discover it?
I wanted to play, like any other kid. This is the thing, and this is like what I think part of the problem of music education nowadays is that I think every one of us go through that part. Is that your teacher gives you a piece, you learn it, then you hear some song that you like, or from a movie, or from a kid's TV show, and then you come to your teacher and say, I want to play that. And of course, most of the time the direction is, no, play what's on the page, and you should do it on your own, you should find, no, this is not, we're not doing it during your lesson. And so I did it on my own. And there were times I tried to brought it to the lessons, and sometimes the teachers, they'll listen, oh, that's very nice. Okay, now back to this, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically how it worked. I really tried to play Disney songs, and now it sounds very romantic, but in my age we didn't have the internet, and you couldn't just put on YouTube, like Facebook, someone knows the chords of a friend like me or something. So the first step was trying to do it by ear, and I listened to the CD and I listened again and again and again and again and again, and I think I got almost all the song by ear. But most of the time there was one or two chords that I wasn't sure. So I had to take the bus to the music store, and the book was very expensive, so I couldn't buy the book. So I look at the book and I try to memorize all the chords and look at all the chords, and that was the chord. And then I went back home and I played the song. Then there was another chord that I'm not sure what's going on. Then I took the bus again to the music store. I look at the book and try to memorize all the chords. So I never bought the book.
What about library?
Yeah. There was a store in Tel Aviv that had all the music score. Like there was one store, maybe like one or two in Israel. I don't know. It wasn't like there were not music stores back then, and I'm sure now the situation is much worse.
Yeah.
And so it was like a music. They had all the scores of like classical stuff, pop stuff, and they had like Disney books. So that's how I learned my Disney songs, which now you don't need to do it. Now you just and as I'm sure there is
too much information.
Too much information and too much wrong information.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's another thing I don't understand. If I was an amateur, I don't know, film lover, okay? I know I'm not a film expert, so I wouldn't write stuff about movies that I'm not sure I know like really well. That I know like technical stuff about how making movies or something. I don't know, because it's not my expertise. But it amazes me how in music someone who studied guitar for 1 year knows 5 chords and say, okay, I'm going to take all Queen songs and I'm going to post all the chords of all their songs, and it's full of mistakes, full of errors, and how people don't have how they don't feel uncomfortable with that. That's my question.
That's very interesting, because we know that you improvise a lot, and I don't have any jazz background, but there was a little chat I had with one of the jazz teachers I had from before, like from school, and he was saying in jazz there's no wrong chord or wrong notes, and if you play something that wasn't planned, then you just make your way out of it, kind of thing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, so in your opinion, with these people, when you say there are sometimes wrong chords, could it be improvised, or could it be seen as their improvisation, or it's
Were you talking about Disney though, or?
I talk about popular songs, and if I have a student want to play some popular song that I don't know, and we'll look it up, and I look at the chords, and I listen to the song and say, no, that's completely wrong. Let me write you the chords now. And I don't think it's the situation in jazz, because I think what your teacher meant is that in the first place they are going to change the song. Like, they are not going to play the song the way it is. So there is no such thing as wrong, because I'm going to change it. No matter, like, there is the song, someone wrote the song, someone sings the song, and we are going to change it now. So the starting point is that I'm going to change whatever it is. But it's not the same purpose as I want to play a song by the Beatles or by Queen. I want to play the chords they are playing. And I could change it if I want, but I don't think this is the reason people put wrong chords of the songs online. I don't think they say, I'm going to add my artistic take into it. I think they just think this is the right chords.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a trend in the modern days because of internet?
I think it comes from the fact that beginners don't understand how much there is to... They think that, okay, study 2 years guitar. Now, okay, I know how music works now. I can play some songs, I can do now, and they don't, it takes years before I publish something just because I'm so...
Are you a perfectionist?
Yes, and this is why it takes me years. And by the way, speaking of which, there is a mistake in the Puro na Cabeza that for years, and I didn't change it just because I put the score, but I realized that now yeah, I think, okay, I'm not sure about that, but this is, now I wrote this, but it should be now. It's not like it should be, because Carlos Gardel, he has the song and it sings it very free. I don't think he wrote it down, but other versions use that thing, and I think it sounds better. And
does it bother you?
Yes. I think of the things that I consider to change it, but now many people bought it. And then I'll feel like I have to email each one of them and say, hey, there is a new version, because I don't want people to complain. Hey, how can I bought your version and it had E and now it's D sharp? Give me my money back, So I prefer just leave it this way. So this is just one example, and it happens all the time. And it takes me years just because of that, because every time I either record something or even worse, write down stuff, I find errors, and then it's too late.
It's interesting because I've had this question for many years myself, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist myself, so I tend to want things to go as perfect as possible as, I can make it. Do you think this kind of personality is shaped because in classical training, we're asked to pay so much attention and to follow the music so carefully? Do you think this is affected by this classical training, or we're born this way and that's why we chose?
No, definitely I think it's shaped by the classical training. I think that no one was born that. Like, the process we're going through during our education is that we think it sounds good, and our teacher tells us, no, it's not good. You did crescendo here. It doesn't say crescendo. It says like diminuendo or something. And then you say, oh no, what did I do? I changed what Beethoven wrote. And then you go through this process so many times. And I think it really shaped the way, like, if it's... And I think it's something wrong, the way we think about music. I think we take it too hard. And I'm aware that I do it myself, but I think it shouldn't be this way. It's not. It makes us, at the end, everybody just sound the same, and that's how I feel about the whole business. So anyway, Yeah, it's true that there are some classical musicians that are less perfectionist than others, but I think we are all in, if we compare ourselves to different, like, compare ourselves to jazz musician or to pop musician, you'll see that we'll be so much more picky than them on anything. Like, there is no way a jazz musician would stop you and say, oh no, you played F sharp, it should be like D sharp or
Right.
this, no.
So did you practice a lot as a kid?
No. I had a teacher, and she made me write a notebook and write. She put like a table, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. And she said, every time you play, you practice, you put plus in the notebook, and every time you don't practice, you put minus. I was, I think, third grade, or I don't remember how old I was. But for some reason, I don't know why, I thought that the plus was the bad one. I thought that was an X because it was kind of looks like this. I don't know why. And I thought the minus was like I practiced. And for some weeks I remember I came to the lesson and I wrote like X, 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 X minus because I didn't practice the whole week and I practiced before the lesson. And she looked at the notebook and she was happy, and I was like very happy that she was happy. And I remember one lesson I came, and there was a student before me, and I saw she gave him the notebook and asked him to do the same. And then she told me, okay, Tal, show him your notebook. And I brought my notebook. I was very proud, and she saw him all this. And she told the student, you see, Tal practiced every day this week. And the day of the lesson, he didn't have time to practice, so that's fine. And I said, what are you talking about? I didn't practice the whole week. I practiced the day of the lesson because I realized I have a lesson. And then she was like, what? You didn't get like a... And then I learned the hard way that plus is practicing, minus is non-practicing.
That's so honest for...
Yeah, you're so honest.
Of course, I had to practice the more I got into it, but it was never easy. It was never like, there were very few times in my life that I remember that I had the urge to practice. There were very few times in my life that I practiced and I look at the clock and I say, wow, it was a whole hour. No. Usually I practice and it feels like that was an hour. I look at the clock, 10 minutes. So.
Was your teacher strict?
Some of them told me you should practice more. You don't practice enough. It's.
So some are strict, some are, because like for example, the Chinese and the Russians are known for their really hard style of teaching.
I don't think I had that kind of strict.
Okay.
But I had teachers that they asked, how much did you practice this week? You didn't get any progress. For me, only later, when I was 16, I think I started to practice more. Like when I was 16, I think I started practicing like 3 hours a day.
Wow.
And that's almost the maximum. Very rarely I pass that. I try to do 4. Now forget about it because it's like parenthood. Forget about it. My day is 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's it. After that, so I try to do 4 hours, but usually if it's 3, I'm lucky. And in the very, very, very busiest time when I really try to practice a lot, there were times I practiced 5, but very rarely. Maybe I can count.
So what made you suddenly change at the age of 16?
I got new teacher, and I went out of this bubble because I studied for many years with a teacher. It was a studio. I was the best piano student.
Oh.
And I didn't have any musicians in my family to tell me, listen, you're not that great. So I was on that studio and I was the best, and my mom told me, you're great. I felt like a genius in that small bubble, and I didn't feel like I need to work hard to be good. Then I switched to a teacher and went to a conservatory, and suddenly, I see there are other kids that play better than me. How come? How did that happen? I couldn't imagine. I thought I was the best in the world. Suddenly I see the other kids, and then, oh, I guess they practice more, so I need to practice more. So that's the process. And I think that happened around when I was between 14 to 16. Slowly you start to realize you're not the best in the world, which is, I think now is so different because of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, the only people who play piano are the people in your neighborhood. That's it. So if you are the best in your neighborhood, you are the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And today, every kid you put on YouTube, oh, watch this 4-year-old kid. And, oh. So, I think I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's different. People now, they have much more contact to the real world, understand what's the level, the real level is.
You were talking about the length of time practiced. So during those long sessions, would you count playing around, like improvising as part of the session? Like, would you take breaks and just mess around a bit and then come back?
Sometimes I do it, and sometimes I feel guilty for doing it, because that's the problem with improvising. It's very hard to feel you're getting better. With classical music, we've composed music, okay, the beginning of the session, I couldn't play this page, now I can, I got better. In improvising, you improvise for 1 hour, you did all those improvised exercises, and did I get better in this 1 hour? I'm not sure. Maybe yes, maybe not. So it's much more frustrating in that process that it's hard to see your progress.
It's interesting. I suddenly have many questions for you.
Oh, me too.
Okay, first of all, as classically trained musicians, I think it's something lacking in nowadays education, that we're not really trained to improvise for classical, because we're supposed to follow exactly what's on the page, right? So you're not really trained to think on the spot what you want to play, that kind of thing. So what exactly goes through your head when you're improvising? That's my first question.
First of all, I would say I don't think I'm a good improviser, seriously. I just think in the classical world, it's easy to be a good improviser just because no one improvises, that's all. I don't think that I'm good at it. I just think I'm doing something that most classical musicians don't do. I don't think I'm talented for it. I don't think that I have some gift in it. I just do something that, for some reason, which is weird to me, classical musicians that just don't do it. But I would say it's kind of a struggle or battle or conflict between being in your comfort zone and being out of your comfort zone. You tend to go back to the things you know how to do, and stuff, some patterns you have already stored in your improvisation. I know I can play this pattern, I can play that pattern, I practice many different patterns, so I can pull them out when I want. But this is not, this is faking improvising, which is important sometimes to have. It's a good, safe, safety belt to go when you don't know what to do. Go back to the things you practiced. The hard part is forget about what you know, forget about what you practiced. Try to do what you think you want to do now, and this is usually when you fail. Or sometimes you succeed. Sometimes it's the best part. Sometimes if I record myself, and it goes to the two extremes. When you play what you know, you're safe. It will sound okay. It will sound nice. When you go to the other side, when you try to do things on the spot, it sometimes will go to, wow, that was really good. I would never be able to do it if I'd planned it in advance. But sometimes it gets really bad and it sounds bad, and you're afraid to fall into that, especially during concert. You don't want to be in that situation.
Have you tried improvising in concert, live concert?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. First of all, it happens all the time since I have many memory slips. So it happens if I want it or not. And I remember one time I played Alban Berg's Piano Sonata in B minor, which is an amazing piece. But so hard to memorize this piece. And I had a horrible memory slip, completely forgot everything. I had no idea what I was doing. So I had, what the heck, I don't have any choice. I'm going to go for free improvisation now, completely free improvisation, trying to do it that it will sound like Alban Berg until I find my way back. I don't know how long it took, if it was 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, I don't know. I was in complete panic, but I tried to fake it like it looks like I know what I was doing. And my teacher after that was saying like, listen, I really like the fact that the improvisation, it was so good, but listen, this is not like what we're supposed to do with this piece. It's like, usually you should just play what's written, but I think he thought that was in purpose. I think he thought that was intentional. I decided I'm going to improvise now, and that was completely not planned. It was just a complete memory slip.
He didn't realize you had a slip. He thought you just wanted to have fun.
Yes, and he was like, surprisingly, he wasn't like, what the hell are you doing? It was like, listen, I really liked it, but you shouldn't do it in a concert. It's like, try to stick to the score.
Wow.
But it wasn't planned. And you could do that only for Alban Berg's piece that people won't notice, because if it was any other piece, it would be a disaster probably.
Wow.
Interesting.
Because, it's easier to improvise like... It's easier than if it was like... Then your style, that's it. What are you going to do now?
I guess in a way, yeah, if you can remain calm. I think a lot of the time when people are facing memory slip, you shock yourself and then you start to panic and you freeze. I think that's the thing. So maybe you've improvised enough that you can remain calm and just like, okay, let's try something new.
I don't know. It's hard to say how it looks from outside. Inside, I do feel the panic. Maybe I'm able not to reflect it to outside, but I do feel like, I don't think I'm those kind of people who can screw up in a concert and just be cool and be like, oh, cool, yeah, like no problem. No, it's...
I don't think any classical musician can be totally cool.
Some people are better in faking it. Some people you
Yeah.
can tell. Some people it's like...
It takes a lot of training, I think. Yeah.
Do your compositions and arrangements start out as improvising always, or
you planned it out in your head
It's
already?
a combination. Usually, I sit on the piano, I try to improvise until something comes out. I say, oh, that's cool, I can do something with it. Then, and it depends, it changes all the time. I go away from the piano, I just go to the computer. I don't touch the piano. I write the whole arrangement on the computer without playing a note. Then I take the score, and try to play what I wrote. Then I change it a lot. I make all the changes. Sometimes I write them on the score, sometimes I just do it on the keyboard and never write them down. This is the problem. Why it's very hard sometimes to play with things I played in the past because I have no idea what I did. I look at the score and I know this is not what I played in that recording and I have no idea what I did. But then it's a process of taking what's on the score and change it and until it gets to something that is good enough. And it's always a compromise between what I want and what I can, because always I want something that is more difficult than I can.
When you started out, did you want to become a concert pianist?
No.
That wasn't your primary goal?
It's hard to tell because this is for so many years, this is what you're in that path. You go to music school and then you have to do competitions because, this is the path. It's not, nowadays you can't be a pianist without winning competitions. This is how it works. And to win a competition, you need to practice a lot, you need to prepare, you need to do what it takes to win the competition, and I didn't. And so for many years you're in that path that they start, because you work so hard, you start to believe you actually want it. But I don't think I ever wanted it. I don't think it's like to be a pianist that you play all the classical pieces, and and just perform the same piece again and again and again and again and again and again the same way, I think I would be miserable.
Oh, so you like changes?
Yes, I get bored very quickly.
Oh. So is this why you decided to include arranging as part of your musical career? Because you like changes?
I don't think I never ever like decided anything. I don't think that was a decision. I don't think I say, oh, let's do that. I think it was just if something that evolved. I did it for fun. I recorded one thing, I put it on YouTube, then it started to be like successful and people watch it, and then people ask the scores, so I write down the score, and then it started as anchors in recitals. So I play recital, I play like Chopin ballad, Beethoven sonata, and Mozart and Bach and all that stuff, and then at the end I played an encore, a short improvisation or arrangement or something, and then all the audience like, woo, everybody is like, suddenly the whole 1 hour recital was just an excuse for that 5 minutes of encore. So I start collecting those, and then I had another one, and another one, then I had like more, then I could do a whole concert of these. So this is basically how it evolved from short anchors.
You have done that? Have you done full concerts of your...
Yes,
arrangements?
which I think it's not the best program. Like, it's good to have like a good balance. If you just play Tico Tico for a whole concert, people get bored. And so it's I think it's good to have a balance. You need to have some serious music there, and I try to include some jazz and some my own arrangements, and try to have like I try that my recitals won't sound like any other pianist recital, because there are so many, to listen to a classical recital, you have so many other pianists that will do it. And why would you listen to me? Why would you come to my recital to listen to Beethoven sonata? There are so many other people that play Beethoven sonata. I think it's like the combination in the end. And try to, I tried that there will be some connection between the classical music and the improvisation. So like, if I play a Chopin piece, then I try to do a jazz version of that piece, and then take a jazz piece and do a Chopin version of that jazz. Like, for example, there is a Chopin prelude in E minor, this one. That one, yes. So there is a Jobim version of this piece, a Bossa Nova version, Insensatez. So I take the Chopin, then I play Jobim, then I take Jobim piece, and then I do a Chopin version of Jobim. So, like, I play and improvise, and it's not improvised anymore. It started as improvisation, now it's the same every time. So I hate to say improvisation, sometimes I call it improvisation. It was improvisation 10 years ago, now it's not improvisation.
Yeah. Actually, your way of combining styles has inspired me a lot too. I think when I make arrangements, I like to use that method, and a lot of it is due to your arrangements.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I saw, by the way, I forgot to tell you, like, you're doing amazing stuff, and it's amazing how much stuff you're doing, like the speed and like.
No, we don't have a baby. So.
Yes,
yeah.
That's true. But as I said, for me it takes me years to do this stuff, and I feel like this is why I'm on decline now on the whole YouTube business, just because I couldn't make a video every week. There is no chance I can do it, and you're doing it.
Yes, I was gonna ask. Earlier you mentioned about your YouTube channel. Your channel was so successful. You had such a big audience. How did that feel?
It feels great, but to be honest, I do think that a lot of it is just pure luck. Not only it feels great, it sometimes gives you like real opportunities. That's the nice things, that people hear you, and sometimes they invite you to play concerts. Sometimes people play you play my arrangements. That happens, and it's amazing. That's one of the best And like the most rewarding thing is that I open YouTube and suddenly I say, oh, someone plays my arrangement. So that's amazing. But I'm trying not to tell myself this is because it's so good. I was lucky. I started early, just for fun. And when I put my first videos, I don't think there were any other Simpsons versions on YouTube when I put my first one. So you didn't have any competitors, and so it was much easier. And 10 years ago, 12 years ago, you could put a camera, put it next to the piano, play, and you had a video. Now you need a drone to fly above your piano. You need to play it on top of a roof in the North Pole with like helicopters. So everything is much. You need a production for doing everything. Like the standard got so high.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Evolution.
Yeah.
You can't go backwards.
Yes.
You have to always go forward.
Exactly.
But so what are your plans for your YouTube channel?
First of all, I have stock of drivers that are waiting there in the whole mess that you don't see out of the frame. That is like recording 2010, recording 2011, recording 2012, I have those like drivers there waiting for me to edit them and put them on YouTube. And I still hope and have the illusion that that's gonna happen one day. So I hope, I don't know, because reality shows that it's not gonna happen. I hope to revive it one day because I have many recordings I haven't posted, and I do hope to spend more time to create new stuff. But it's like you need to find the time to do it. And I don't have the time.
Oh, when your kid goes to university?
Yes. So I have 13 more years. I have another now baby. She's 6 months. So that's 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll talk in 18 years, I'm sure.
But then you have to keep earning the money to pay for their education.
Fortunately, that thing is actually the better part of Israel, that it's not that expensive as it's in the US, and I don't know how it is in Canada, but in that sense, we have many problems, but higher education is cheap here, so I wouldn't need to worry about that. Don't worry, we have many other problems.
Well, but they'll see that you went to the States, so maybe they'll want to go to the States too.
That's a good point. Maybe it's a good. I should never tell them. I should never tell them. Yes.
So we know that you have upcoming startup projects. Would you like to tell us more about this project?
It's it's exciting project that I started with 2 partners, and so we are 3 people. It's me, we have programmers, and we have a person that is like dealing with all the business stuff. And basically it's a keyboard harmony software. The keyboard harmony is the most technical and boring subject to teach, because all you teach is like, okay, play 1-4-5 in C major. And then usually the way the classes goes is that you give the student play 1-4-5 and the student play. Say no, there's a parallel fifth. Oh, I didn't know. And then it's so boring, and so much of this stuff software can do better than teachers, for different reasons, but mainly because software has more patience than teachers, and software will hear you play this thing as many times as you need until you can play it right. And teacher after 2 times say, okay, go practice it. Go to the next student or something. So the idea is to let the software do what the software can do better than teachers, so teachers can do what they can do better than software. The software basically, it generates progressions, the student play them, you plug your MIDI, it works only with MIDI keyboard. I know there are some software that work with acoustic instruments, but the problem is very easy to cheat. It's very easy to fake. So basically it generates the progression and it tells you when you screw up, it tells you your mistakes, and it sends your teacher your progress. So the teacher can see all the students at once. So I have a class, I have like 10 students. At the end of the class, I know that, okay, these 2 students complete all the assignments, these 3 students, they complete 2 assignments, they screw up the 3rd one, and this student need help. This guy couldn't do any of this. So I know that this student, I need to work more with that student. So.
Do you teach keyboard harmony classes?
Yes, I teach in a high school and we just started it. The keyboard harmony, it's a new thing, it's a new pilot. So I'm excited to see the software working in real life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be teaching them using this software.
Yes.
Oh.
You don't have any interviews currently on YouTube?
No, that's the first time I'm doing
cool.
it. So I have no idea what to expect. And it's in English.
Wait.
Yeah, no,
See, English, yeah, your English is great.
yeah, your English is fine.
You spoke English before you went to the States, right?
Yes, but it was always my lowest grade. And
You had to take English in Israel?
yes, and
Okay.
I'm not talented in languages, and this is one of the things that I like it, and I tried, and I studied English. I tried to study Chinese. I'm horrible in it. It's a so difficult language, and Italian, and I like it, but I'm not good at it. So that's unfortunate. So
You're very interesting. Throughout our conversation, I hear I'm not a good pianist. I don't think I'm an improviser. I'm not good at English. I think you're too hard on yourself.
maybe. No, I'm a good pianist, but what I'm saying is like classical musicians, they always like look at the improvisation like it's a gift. Like it fell from the sky. It's like it's just because classical musicians don't do it. That's all. I think that if classical musicians would do it, I don't think I would be like special.
Yeah, it's somehow it's not part of any curriculum, right? To improvise.
Yeah.
Like other than some figure bass, you have to learn. I don't think unless you go into jazz, I don't think it's a thing.
Yeah.
The part that you mentioned, there is no improvisation in classical music. I think that's a big problem. For many reasons. One, because it lacks something very essential that was part of music education for many years. And the other is that for all those who are not going to be a concert pianists, I do think it's important for when you teach that you will be able to improvise with your student and make stuff for your student. I do think that if your student comes to you and you teach them for release, and they want to play some song they like, you should be able to write an arrangement for your student. You should be able to teach them like, okay, let's do some improvisation, teach them like blues scales and do something like that. Because I do think it's important for the education, because I saw many students that just quit the piano, they start, and they go to the level when it's very hard, because it gets very hard, and they quit. And I felt like if they took a different path, they could keep doing music now. They just go to this wall that it's just too difficult, and yeah. So I feel this is a very important missing part, like a part of music education that is missing. And for me as a teacher, maybe I'm not enough like classically, like because my students, when I teach them, I never force, like, I have my pieces I think they need to play, but if they say, I listen to that song, I never tell them, no, let's finish your Bach piece and then play the song. I say, okay, which song? And then I look it up on YouTube. Okay, here's a short, like an easy arrangement I wrote for the student, and they play the song.
Yeah, they need to get enjoyment.
Yes. I think that too much of the music education is aimed towards like being a concert pianist. And it's unfortunate, first because if you are lucky and you are a concert pianist, you still miss a very important part of music.
Yeah.
And if you are not lucky and you're not concert pianist, which happens to most of us, then you lost a very important part of what's going on in the music world that you can add to yourself and to your students.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking back to the music history we learned. Actually, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, everyone improvised. So it wasn't just jazz musicians.
Definitely. But it's also important to clarify, because I think that's another misconception sometimes, that the improvisation in Bach's time, in Chopin time, in Beethoven time, it wasn't for artistic. It wasn't like Bach plays stuff and say, oh, that's too boring, let's improvise. I think it was more a necessity of like a practical, what's the word?
Performance practice.
Yes, it just because they didn't have libraries with tons of like all the scores printed out of all the composers from centuries. They had to invent music all the time. They didn't have time and money to print out all the piano parts, so they had to write sketches of a figured bass. So it was more like a need, because sometimes it's also like we tend to think, oh, these musicians, they were so creative, Bach could do everything. They had to invent all the time to create new music, and they couldn't write it down. It's too much time and money, and so in that sense. But we live in different age now. We don't have to improvise. That's the problem. They had to improvise. They didn't have the choice. You couldn't go to you couldn't have a church gig and just say, no, I need everything printed out, please. I can't play a figure bass. No, you wouldn't get the job.
Yeah, it was a necessary skill back then.
On the other hand, they didn't have to play all Chopin etudes and all Beethoven sonatas and all Prokofiev sonatas and Ligeti, and so they had time to focus on the figure bass. So.
Well, let's do it.
Do you speak English these days?
I have 2 students from the US.
Oh yeah,
so
right.
That's the only time you speak English.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, I think your English is impressive.
Thank you. I mean, I lived for 10 years in the US, so my English should be, if my English was bad, that was a really bad sign. But there are two English words that I learned just not to say and not to pronounce ever in my life. One is music. It's like, okay, how do you call this thing in English? Music?
Sheet.
You're right.
Sheet.
Okay? So I don't say that word. After a few embarrassing experience when I go to the class and tell my student, okay, folks, open your music shit, and and then no. So that's one thing I don't. And if I try, I can say the difference. I can tell the difference, but it's not like it doesn't. I need to think about it. And the other whole word is when you go to the beach. Okay, did I say it right now?
Oh, did you say it right? Yeah.
Okay, because I really tried, because many times I don't say it right, and then it sounds not very good. You come back and people ask you, how was your summer? It was really good, I went every day to a different beach, and so these words, just don't say them.
Was it difficult for you studying in the US, having English as a second language?
Yes.
But there's so many students who are in the same situation.
Right.
So
I know. I know. So I wasn't the worst, definitely, but it was difficult, and good thing I have my wife, because she did most of my papers.
Yeah. Are you sure it's okay to include this in the broadcasting?
Yes.
Your exam committee might contact you.
She just,
Take away the doctorate.
Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Tal.
joining us today.
We had a great time listening to your stories and background.
Thank you so much for
it's very
having me. It's
interesting.
an honor, and keep the good work. And congratulations on your first new composition. I heard it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh,
And you said you didn't have any jazz background. That sounds like.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you.
I know, I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Looking forward to your next.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully there'll be a next one.
Yeah, I would say that's the big thing. Like, and I only realized it later, and I wish I'd realized it earlier, that when you go to the competitions and you look back, and then basically if you look at who your colleagues are down the road, they're the people who were there in the competition with you, either competing with you or on the jury, and those guys are gonna be, you know, working in your industry alongside you your whole life.
You got tears.
I'm just laughing.
Tears.
No, so my ID was Stephanie, no last name.
Really?
So when she got her diploma from Manhattan School of Music, it said Stephanie, no last name. And
What's funny is that, you know, like how in Manhattan they assign you like an email address, right? And then it would be like you will be Claire Yuan, and so it'll be CYUAN,
Yes,
and the numbers at
MSN,
NYC, whatever, right? So mine would be, I was Snola, so I was Stephanie, no
No
last name.
last name.
So I was Snola.